Welcome to the fourth video in the series of videos devoted to presentation and writing tips. In this video, we will have a look at the question how to structure a paragraph, and this goes to how to structure text in a good way. And as before, this is part of the teaching material of ISP Group, free to use by anyone as long as you say where it's from. And this is given in the beginning of the course, but it's something you should use all the time. So, a paragraph. I would argue that the paragraph is the most important structural unit to work with when you are writing. So you should really think about paragraphs. And I will show how this is done in practice in a concrete example in a little while. But the key thing is to sort of have one clear message per paragraph. And it's really a good idea to write this message out explicitly to really not have it implicit, so you have to understand it by reading all the rest, but to really have an explicit sentence that says, this is what I want to say, and then comes the arguments. And now we will have a look at a specific paragraph, which is part of a systems biology method paper. So it's one where you present methods, and it's a paragraph from the background. But in order to understand this paragraph, we will first need to learn a little bit more some general writing tools, just to be able to unravel how a text is actually structured. And then we go to this paragraph. So let's have a look at some general writing tips. So how can you structure a text in a logical, easy to understand fashion? The maybe most important or maybe most common way of writing, I would say, is the following. Where you start by saying A, which leads to B. And then in the next sentence, you start with B, which you just said, and then you fill in with some new details, which is C. The next sentence, you start with the thing you just said, fill in some more details, and so on. So if we here have a couple of sentences, which is could be the beginning of an introduction, for instance. It might say that one of the most rapidly spreading diseases is diabetes. And then diabetes is B. So you start with that. Diabetes is caused by a malfunction in glucose homeostasis. And then you say something about this glucose homeostasis. This homeostasis is the result of blah, and so on. So this is an example of using this structure here. Another good way to structure text is to use counting structures. And then you first say that there are 3 examples. And then you start the sentence that introduces the first example with first, comma, and then you say what the first example is. And then you might have a number of sentences that explains details about this example. And then you start the next, when you come back to this level in the tree, you start the sentence with second, in the same way as you started this one with first, and then second here, and then third. And here it's of course very, very important that if you say there are 3 examples, that you really come with 3 examples. And also if you here write first in words like this, you should write second and third. But if you here have the number 1, then you should here have the number 2 and number 3 and so on, of course. And in order to navigate among logical structures, if you're not using one of these 2, you can also use these kind of words that like therefore, or in contrast, or furthermore. And they also help you to sort of structure the material and find the logical relationship between each component, so that when you read it, you will all the time know why you're reading, and where it fits into the big picture. A final important thing is to not use these words it and they in scientific texts. So they are referrals. So here is just an example. My cat is like my dog. This is a fine sentence, but then you say it is also illegal. And here the problematic word is of course it. You don't know what it refers to here. It might refer to the dog, might refer to the cat, or it might refer to that the cat is like the dog. And neither of these really make sense to you. So you don't really know just automatically what it refers to. So you really need to, so here you would be unsure. And in science, it's all the time like that. Because you are always saying something, or you're very often saying something that is new, something that nobody ever said before. So you can't logically deduce what it must mean, because you don't know, because this is a new thing you're saying. And therefore the language cannot contain these kind of uncertainties. The language needs to be perfectly spelled out, specified, without any of these ambiguities. So if you use these words like it and they, then you need to fill in with something more. So here is an example. Diabetes is caused by malfunctioning glucose homeostasis. And then you could, if this was a non-scientific text, you could say, this is the result of. But then you don't know if this refers to the homeostasis, or to the malfunction, or to the diabetes. So then you specify this by adding maybe just one word. You don't have to say this glucose homeostasis or the glucose homeostasis, but you can say this homeostasis, because then you understand, okay, it's the glucose homeostasis. It's not the malfunction, it's not diabetes. Okay, so this is really important. So let's now see how we can use these structures in a concrete paragraph. And here is the paragraph. And the goal now is to basically do a tree structure. So you remember from a previous video that we constructed this tree structure here. So now we want to create this tree structure from this paragraph here. And the first thing to see is, what are the paragraphs? So here we have the end of one paragraph, here we have a new paragraph, and here we have a third paragraph. So there are three paragraphs that we see here, but there's only one that we see in full. So this basically means that we see one paragraph, two paragraphs, three paragraphs. And now let's just see a little bit what they say. So here we have the paragraph, and the previous paragraph basically said that biological systems are so complex, with so complex interaction networks, that they quickly become too complex to grasp using classical biochemical reasoning. So that's the first paragraph. So modeling is needed because of the complexity of biology. And then you come to the current paragraph, which says that many relevant hypotheses are too complex to be analyzed in a satisfactory manner, even when using modeling. So here we have we say something new. Here we said that modeling was necessary to deal with complexity, but here we basically say that modeling also has a limitation. So even modeling has limits, and this is the current message, and this leads to the next paragraph. So this is the overall structure here, and now let's have a look at how do we argue for this, and this is basically what we have here in black, and then the next blue paragraph here, or the blue sentence here, leads on to the next one. So we'll now unravel these black things here. So we are here, and we want to unravel this text here. So, however, many relevant hypotheses are too complex to be analyzed in a satisfactory manner, even when using modeling. So modeling has limits. Why? Now we need arguments. And the first argument comes here. Even with the power of supercomputers, parameter and state spaces quickly become too large to be searched convincingly. So this is then the first argument. We have large state spaces. This is the first sentence. Then let's go back to the text. Large state spaces. And then comes one of these words, further. And further means, okay, so there is a new argument. There is a second argument here. It's not the same as it's another argument. But it argues for the same thing. So it agrees with this one, but it adds something new. Even though experimental data are being produced in ever larger amount, most models are still highly over-parameterized with respect to the available data. So over-parameterized. Models are over-parameterized. This is the second argument then, over-parameterization. And then let's go to the third sentence here. This means that many or all conclusions regarding a model will often be highly uncertain or even arbitrary. And let's now think about how does this relate this sentence to the other ones. So this is a question. And the key part to understanding that lies here again in the first two words, which is this means. This means. Here it was further saying that, okay, so this is, I agree with you and I have something more. Here, this means, it's basically clarification of this argument here. So over-parameterization, it's something. Over-parameterization means that many or all conclusions will be highly uncertain. So basically here we have already the argument of over-parameterization, and this has a consequence, uncertainty. And then let's go back to the text again. And then we have the word finally. And this word finally here, it means that, okay, so we have a new argument, and it's not only a new argument, but it's the last argument. So finally, even a complex model has problems because an intuitive understanding of what goes on can only be obtained from a simplified version of the model. So here we see that intuitive understanding, this is the final argument, the last argument, intuitive understanding. Okay, so this basically means that modeling has limits if they are too big. And this then we can wrap up all of these and have a bridge sentence that goes to the next one, which basically says that all of these things that we talked about here are reasons why model reduction, so model simplification, is a central ingredient of systems biology modeling. So this now is the bridge. Model reduction is important because large models means that even modeling has limits. Simplifying models is important. This is the bridge to the next paragraph, which then comes as the logical consequence. So model reduction is important, and then you ask, okay, I agree it might be important, but what has been done before? And then you say there are a number of existing approaches to model reduction. And then you say existing approaches, okay, so one important approach, and then you have started a counting structure here in the next paragraph. So this is basically how you structure a text. And when you write, it's really important to have this structure really clear for you when you write. And actually you can start by creating this structure and then write the text. Then it will be a very good flow in the structure, and it will be easy to read and easy to write also.